My favorite series continues to get better and better and better, and it really outdid itself this time. Let's talk about For All Mankind Season 3, folks. Let's get into that right now. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing Season 3 of For All Mankind, coming back to Apple TV Plus June 10th. This season was nuts. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. Spoiler free, but man, there's so much to talk about. This show just continues to outdo itself. And I knew where the show was going to go, obviously, because of where we left off on last season, but I just had no clue how crazy things were going to be. And it's just so intense. Each and every episode, you're going to be at the edge of your seat, which I can tell that they wanted each of these episodes to be very, very action-packed, drama-felt, suspenseful, and all of that, because there's a new episode weekly. You know, sometimes you get like 3 episodes at once, you're like, oh, well, one of those episodes probably is going to be a filler. Not this time. Each and every episode is something more and more dire. It's the craziness, you know. You're just, oh my God, it's so good. Now for season 3, the race in space is towards the red planet in Mars. That's taking us more current. You know, there's a couple of time jumps in this. I think there's 2 time jumps in this season, but bringing us in the 90s for sure. And everybody is on their way towards Mars. When I say everybody, you're talking about the U.S., you're talking about the Soviet Union, and then we have a new entrant into the race in Helios, who is basically this group of folks who have a very different approach in terms of how they go about that. They try to be as less political, less of a hierarchy and a democracy as possible in terms of their operations, but they, with good resources and good minds behind them and funding, that they're a real player in the game. They're actually a valuable option here, when you could imagine that for the folks who's been working for NASA all this time may find shelter in this other place that, you know, is going to space, because we know a lot of our characters are obsessed with space. But in this season, like beyond that too, beyond the big race, you know, so many different stakes are ahead now. You have Ed, who's obviously trying to get back to space. And him and Danielle, you know, there's always the whole idea in terms of who's the most qualified for the next mission and whatnot. Who's going to lead the next mission? And that brings a very challenging dynamic between the two of them. And then you also have Ed and Karen, who also has sort of a interesting dynamic because of her affair and whatnot. And where does that put the two of them? And by the way, because we are, you know, going up in time, becoming more modern for us, people are aging. So seeing people age is definitely I thought it was, first of all, I thought it was really well done, but it's kind of like, wow, yeah, time is passing and whatnot. So, you know, folks are taking different positions. Folks are getting different positions. Kids are becoming involved now, you know, and so on. There's a lot going on here. I think that even somebody like Margot, who takes well, we all know where she was eventually going to go. I don't want to spoil it, but like seeing her in a power position was something that I enjoy. And I also just love how this series always gives, like, it's breaking down barriers. You know, you having people of color in space, you're having women in power. Like, I just love, and then like the queer representation of the show. I just love how this show just breaks down barriers over and over, and like it just continues to push the needle more in this season as well. And then there's Molly as well, which Molly, I will say that we know her struggles from the previous season, but seeing her become like a head authority in NASA, she's power hungry, and like I never thought I would have seen her become that, and that brings like another very interesting dynamic within it as well too. her and we know Molly and Ed, they got each other's backs, and we know Ed is itching to get back into space, and want to lead a mission, but he may not be the most qualified because of some of his past things. We know clearly Danielle is the most qualified. That's not even without a question. But Molly's gonna always do what's best for her, and that's just that's one thing. But Margot, and then the Soviets now. You know what? I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna make this very short and sweet for everybody. There is some very, very crazy things that are going to happen. What could go wrong in space will go wrong. There's also even a space hotel, Polaris, which we see, as much as that seems like an amazing idea, we see how that quickly can go wrong. But in this mission to getting to Mars, again, it's a race. So it's all about the notoriety of who gets there first. We already have lost the race to the moon from the Soviets, so we're definitely trying to make a comeback into claiming to our claim to fame. And with this new entrant being involved now in Polaris, they also are trying to say we represent the people and we're going to beat the almighty government. You know what I mean? And with that race, it becomes more of a it's make or break for folks, which means that people are willing to push the limit in order to come out on top, and that the stakes just get so much more higher, so much more dire. So many things could go wrong, will go wrong, and it's just going to have you on the edge of your seat. And the thing I've been saying for all the seasons, that the visuals are just fantastic. I just love a good space exploration, but the drama feels so surreal, because not only do you have drama in space, but you have drama at home, you have drama within families, you have like realism within the drama and whatnot, the prejudice that kind of Danielle kind of goes through, some resentment in terms of how NASA had handled previous missions. What does that mean for the kids? And then obviously all the society who believes that NASA's taking all their money. So, stop all of this and help us back on Earth and whatnot. And then, like I said, with there being a third option in terms of employment for the folks who may not have been happy the entire time in NASA, what will they do? Will people jump ship and vice versa? And that all gets super interesting because all of that is coming in 10 episodes this season of For All Mankind. I gotta say, man, just seeing the dynamics between some of these characters and what's at stake, and a lot of different things. I mean, you can even look at Kelly, who's Ed's daughter, and she's really pro dad, but imagine if he had to compete against her. What would that look like? And Karen and Ed, while I think space in that separation kind of brings the best out of humanity at times, and while they may not have always been on the same page, but what would it mean if they was trying to rekindle? What would that type of a dynamic be like? Danielle as a mother, and how does she interact with her son, and what does her son feel about mom, and then the family not being together always, like, well, sorts of different things like that you question and whatnot. It's a lot that goes on, and like I said, Molly becomes power hungry, so that's a thing. There's a lot to really go into this season, and I just really cannot wait for you all to check this out. It's so much that is going to go on. And how could I forget about one of the most interesting elements of this season is, well, we know what Margot did last season and her relationships with Sergi, and that could come back to bite her in the butt, and I don't know if I misspoke earlier, but I meant to say in Ellen, who we ultimately seen and kind of knew where she was at some point going to go. We know in what direction she was going to go, and kind of seeing her in a position of power has been interesting. But yeah, Margot, what the things that she's done, the biggest cliffhanger of last season, what would that mean as she grows closer and closer to Sergi, you know, and how that could not be of best interest of the United States. And then, like I said, with Ellen and her relationship, and where we see Ellen kind of goes, you know, what would that kind of cause for between the two of them? Like, there's a lot of different things that are kind of happening in this season that you're just not going to be ready for. But overall, it's beautiful. Once they get to Mars, it's so beautiful. And Mars is going to be a big mystery of its own. There's so much trouble waiting for them on Mars, but it's just an entirely fun journey. Each and every episode, you're going to be hooked. You're not going to want to miss. For All Mankind is my favorite series, and I'm just in love every time we get back to it. And here we go again, 10 episodes. You're the edge of your seat, and you know this show is not scared to take chances, and it definitely goes there. Some things happen, some things that just are something. And you know, you're gonna have folks who are liabilities at times. You're gonna have folks who are, you know, power hungry. You're gonna have folks who are trying to uncover the secrets. You're gonna have sort of relationships that you've never thought would happen, especially in this day and age, you know, considering that, you know, when it comes down to the space exploration, and if there's something goes wrong and then things start to transform into a rescue mission, how we stick together as humanity in order for the better good of that. And that puts all the politics aside. But even when all the politics are aside, can you trust everybody? That's the thing. So this is a no-brainer. Go check this out each and every week, starting with June 10th. You're not going to want to miss this. For All Mankind, folks, jump in the comments and let me know your love for this series. And I'll see you around for more reviews very soon.